Hi, Hippy Trev here, and welcome to my channel. Hope you get something out of it. So after Anne and I had made ours rock and so forth, we decided, well, she didn't, but I sort of did, that I wanted to go to Western Australia and we were going to take the bus over. So we started heading back down south, and once we got sort of heading down towards Port Augusta, she said well, even before then, she said she had to go home. So we I pulled in this truck stop and it's south of Port Augusta. I jumped on the CB and I said, "Are there any trucks heading to Adelaide and to Melbourne?" Within a few seconds, this guy literally jumped on the CB and said, "Yep, I'm heading through." So basically, he pulled in, grabbed down his stuff, and within a second, she was gone. And all of a sudden, there I was, back on my own, one chair by the campfire. Anyway, so Anna's gone, and I started sort of wondering what to do. So we've been out in the red centre for so long, I sort of take it off, and I think I was trying to head down south to Port Wakefield or somewhere like that, anyway, so I decided on finding a beach at any cost. So I ended up at this little beach here, and then I ended up at another place called Hervey Bay, which I haven't got any photos of, and I ended up staying there for I think I was there for about 3 weeks. Anyway, so after my time at Arno Bay, it was pretty boring. I decided, okay, I'm not really sure what I wanted to do, so I started sort of drifting back towards Port Augusta. So somewhere north of Port Wakefield or somewhere ever I was, I found this little parking spot. So I pulled into there, and there was a main water line, like a huge, massive pipe that was feeding the town. And I found a bloody tap. So while I was there, I ended up staying there like 4 weeks, but because I had constant fresh water, so while I was there, I did my washing and just basically hung out of this little camp spot for 3 to 4 weeks before I decided to move further north again. The next stop was at the crossroads, where you come in from Western Australia across the Nulla, so you would turn south and head down to Port Lincoln and Port Wakefield or somewhere down that way, or you turn right, or sorry, left and start heading back to Port Augusta. Well, right there on that intersection are these big, massive tanks that everyone rides on. So I pulled up there, and I actually ended up waiting there for about 3 days, I think, for my trucking friend Chris to drive across. She was doing a Perth to Brisbane run in the truck. And I waited there for 3 days for her, and trouble is I fell asleep when she rolled through in the middle of the night and ended up not catching up. But I did go and paint my name on the tank, so that was in big green letters. I typed in big green letters, I painted Hippy Trev 07. From there, back through Port Augusta, and started making my way back to Victoria. So I ended up finding this other parking spot, a little place called Peterborough. So I ended up pulling up in there, ended up camping there for 3 or 4 days, and finally, good old mate Truckee Chris was on her way back from Brisbane to Perth, and pulled in, said g'day, had a cup of coffee, a couple of smokes, and she was off and gone again, and I was back on the road, heading back towards Victoria. Okay, so after a stop in Broken Hill and a few things, I finally made it back to my best mate Bernie's at Hepburn Springs, and back into her backyard there for a while, and upgraded the gas system, made it a lot more better, using a car gas tank, and also upgraded the solar system. And I was freezing my ass down there, absolutely just freezing my ass. And when I got all that done, I was getting calls from Ted, who kept saying, "Mate, come to Queensland, come up to Queensland. I've got a place you can stay, place to park your bus. Come up and stay as long as you like." And I literally was freezing my ass off down here in Hepburn Springs. So basically, I loaded the bus, Queensland, Ted, here I come. The next spot after leaving Bernie's was up to Pete and Bernie's in Midiamo, as they're always my last stop on the way out of Vic when I'm heading north. So pulled in there, made camp there. I think I was there, I don't know, I was there a week maybe, and then started making my way north to Queensland. Now, I've got no photos between here and Ted's place, but it took me a good week to get the bus from Pete's place up to Ted's. I think it was actually 2 weeks before I landed at his place in place called Oakhurst, just out the other side of Scaryborough in Queensland. So, finally made it. 3 weeks later, I'm at Ted's place in Scaryborough, Queensland, and it is nice and warm. It is amazing. Let's just sit down and have a beer. Cheers, old mate Ted. You're definitely the man, mate. And my bike's got a place to live in a nice shed. The house has got good amenities. The temperature's good. It's just good to kick back and be where it's warm. So, thanks, Ted. You got me up to where it should be, up here in Queensland, and that was 12 years ago. Waking up to my first sunrise in Queensland at Ted's place was beautiful, to say the least. So, while I'm safely parked up at Ted's, I thought I'd do a little bit of bus maintenance. Now, the radiator had been leaking water pretty much ever since I left Victoria, but all the way to Ayers Rock and all the way back and everything, she was constantly had water leaks. So Anna would just be grinding up black pepper and shoving that in the radiator, and as we drove along, it pretty much smelled like fish and chips all the way. So while in Ted's place in Scaryborough there, I popped the radiator out and took it and got it repaired, and turned out at the bottom tank had like a 3-inch crack. So for $100, I got all that fixed and basically got the bus back on the road again. Also, while I was parked up at Ted's, I did actually have a visit from one of my best mates, young Roscoe there, his wife Nina, and their obviously brand new baby, young Angus, who actually I think is about 11 now. He's actually just put out his first YouTube today, which is wonderful. So, yeah, that was cool having Ross and Nina drop in and see me. Long way from home and a long way from family and friends, and up in Queensland, and who should drop in and see me but one of my very best mates, young Roscoe. It was absolutely fantastic. So anyway, I had a good 3 or 4 months out there at Oakhurst, just out of Scaryborough there. Then yeah, something sort of happened with the owners, and Ted decided he didn't want to rent the place anymore. So basically, I had to sort of kind of move on. So I packed up bus, kit and caboodle, and started making my way up towards Bundy and out to Bargara, where I ended up staying out at Ross and Nina's place in Bargara for I don't know, about 4 weeks. I think I was there. So yeah, there I was, sunny Bargara, right on the coast there. Not that you got to see much of the beach, and it was so good catching up with Auntie Judy after all these years, after living with her down in Melbourne years ago, and catching up with her up here in Queensland. That was wonderful. So yeah, camped at Ross and Nina's there for a good few weeks, and then after there it was off to Tara. All right, so I left Bargara and made my way down to Tara, and that was a big long day. That was good. That was a good 7-hour drive down. It was about 500 miles, about a bit more than that maybe. No, sorry, about 300 miles, 500 k's down to Tara. It was a long drive out to the middle of absolutely nowhere, and landed Georgie's place. Funny little thing she was. So I ended up living out at Georgie's place there for I was there about 4 or 5 months, and that's where I met Indian Pete. And after being at George's place for a little while and running into Indian Pete, I actually ended up moving to Indian Pete's place. So I moved on to Indian Pete's place, and I was only supposed to be there 3 or 4 months. I was literally just there, going to catch my breath, do a bit of work to the bus and so forth. But then we started building a bit of a shade thing next to the bus, and then we built a bit more and a bit more, and before I knew it, I ended up living at his place for literally 3 years. I ended up staying at Indian Pete's place until I managed to end up buying the Haven. So after 3 years at Indian Pete's place and a lot of hard work and whatever, Hippy's Haven finally happened. So I did it. I got me block of land. I got me 33 acres of pure bush. and moved the bus out there, and there was just literally nothing there when I first got there, and cleaned up and started to build, and after a period of I think I was out there 5 years at the Haven. That's how she sort of ended up. Yeah, I did a lot of work out there, and anyway, that's where the bus ended up, and that's where I left it behind when I moved to Biggin.